All right. What's up, y'all? In the previous videos, we talked about so many things, but today we're going to discuss the very importance of support and resistance. I'm going to show you guys how to read support and resistance, all right, which is basically floors and ceilings, all right. You associate floors with support and ceilings with resistance, and I'm going to show you, all right. So right here on the board, this is a resistance, all right. So if you guys been paying attention to my previous videos, I discussed how the market can sometimes trend, all right. And when it's trending, it hits ceilings and floors, all right. So this is your ceiling right here. Boom. You see, once it hit that, it fell. This is your resistance. This is your ceiling. So you should have knew that it was going to fall once it hit this point, all right? Because once it hit this point, what it did, it fell. You know what I mean? Likewise, once it hit the support, it went up. So remember, guys, we use previous price points in order to predict what's about to happen in the future, all right? That's basically called technical analysis. And the way you read technical analysis is through looking at price action. You know what I mean? In other words, whatever the current price is trading at, you want to look at previous history in order to determine what's finna happen now and what's finna happen also as well in the future, all right? So that's all we doing, all right? So right here, boom, it went down again, all right? It hit the support. Keep in mind, it breached that previous support, all right? But the reason why you should have knew it wasn't going to go too much further from this point is because this was your support. If you noticed, it didn't go too far below this point, all right? Because this is your previous support. This is your first support, all right? That's your first support right there. So remember, let's assume nothing was right here. You're going to look at the previous lowest point in order to predict what's about to happen now. You with me? This is how you should have knew it wasn't going to go too far below this point. All right. Then what happened? It went up. All right. It went up. Boom. It made a retest. So this is a retest. All right. A retest. It's retesting this area. It's retesting this area. You see? So even though it went above these two, it barely went above these two. So it's retesting these particular areas right here. All right? It's retesting these areas. So you should have knew that it was going to come back down more sooner than not because it did it previously two separate times. You understand? It did it two separate times. So you should have knew that it was going to go back down. All right. That is called a resistance. It hit your ceiling. All right. Remember the example that I gave you guys earlier as far as when the ball hits the ceiling, more than likely it's going to fall. And vice versa. When the ball hits the floor, more than likely it's going to come up. All right. It's the same thing. Think of price action as a ball. Once it hits that ceiling, all right, more than likely it's going to fall. And that's what happened. All right. Okay. Right here. Boom. What happened? It fell again. Boom. Once it hit that ceiling again, boom, then it made a support. Notice how the support didn't breach the first support. So here's your first support. Here's your second support right here. Boom. That's your second support. Notice how the third support it didn't breach the first support. All right. It didn't breach the second support. It's actually leveling out exactly the same at the same exact level as the first support. All right. So you should have had an idea that it was going back up. All right. So you should have took a bullish position. All right. We're going to say bullish. You should have been placing a buy trade. All right. So there's a buy signal right here. Once you saw the consolidation, once you saw that it didn't go or it didn't breach your previous point, you should have knew that it was going up. And what happened? It went up. Okay. And then what actually happened? It went up just about to these same areas. All right. And what it did, it fell back down. Create what is called a pullback. All right. And what happened? It went up. It breached your previous resistance, which is right here. So this is your first resistance, second resistance, third resistance, fourth resistance. But it breached that. So what that means is that it's going to possibly, keyword, possibly continue to go up and continue to trend. All right. Now, support and resistance, or in other words, floors and ceilings, are used basically when the market is consolidating, meaning there's no direct trend that has been established. All right. But once the market starts trending, you can't read support and resistance the same. You understand? And we're going to get to that in later videos, in which I touched on it briefly in previous videos. So you guys go back and check out my previous videos if you want to understand how to read or how to understand trends. All right. So when the market is trending, these techniques that I'm showing you are basically ineffective. But when the market is consolidating, they are very usable. So take advantage of this information. All right. Now we're going to go to the second phase. All right. So basically, in the top of this chart, you saw me illustrating what happens when price hits resistance. Now we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to show you exactly what happens when price hits support, or in other words, when price hits the floor. All right. Now, I want to make a disclaimer here. You know, sometimes you may be too early. You understand? Meaning, sometimes you may think price is hitting the floor, but it has a little more ways to go. But nevertheless, the floor is near. All right. So you want to be mindful of that. Be mindful of when you're approaching the floor. Be mindful of when you're approaching the ceiling. All right. Because this is going to make you a lot of money, guys. Understanding the simplicities of support and resistance and how to read them is very essential, because using this technique, you don't need any indicators. All right. Now, I do personally recommend indicators. A lot of people don't, because they are a distraction, as I said in my last video, or one of my last videos. But I don't recommend using indicators for beginners. So if you're a beginner trader, or you're someone who has very little knowledge about trading, I don't recommend you using any indicators in the initial beginning. All right. Now, once you learn how to trade consistently, all right, keyword consistently, because you can guess in this market and make a profit, but are you going to be consistent? That's the key. All right. Now, once you understand and learn how to become consistent in this market, all right, then I recommend you use indicators. But until then, I recommend you to just keep the chart naked. You know what I mean? The way this is. and learn how to read support and resistance before you get to the indicators. So I will be doing additional videos on indicators, in which I've already started, but I will finish informing you guys how to read indicators. But this will be only for the advanced students. This will be only for the advanced traders, the guys who have, or the guys and females who have experience already doing this particular thing. So if you don't have any experience whatsoever, I don't recommend that you take the initiative to start using indicators. All right, I just wanted to make that disclaimer. But let's go. Okay. What we're doing is we have a support right here. So it failed. The market was falling. Boom, it fell. It hit this point. Then it went back up, all right? Created a resistance. It hit that ceiling. Boom, this is the ceiling, all right? It fell back down. This is your floor. This is your floor. I'm sorry. Excuse my my terminology. This is your floor. Notice how it doesn't breach your floor, all right? It never breaches your floor. It never breaches the floor. What it does, it went back up. It breaches the resistance just a little bit, all right? Then what it did, it came back down, all right? It consolidated a little bit. It hit the floor, all right? Then what it did, it hit the floor again. So notice how this is your third support right here. Boom. I just continued the line, but this is your support. This is not a support, guys. Let's be clear. This is not a support. This is a minor downtrend, but this is the support right here. So the arrow is representing right here, this initial point right here, which is your third support, all right? You got your first support, your second support, and your third support. Notice how each single time it never fully breaches the initial point, all right? So if you were actually trading, this data wouldn't be here, all right? So keep in mind, guys, this is previous data, all right? If you're looking at current data, the data that you see currently is not going to be there. So you're going to have to look into the past in order to predict what's about to happen now, which ultimately affects what would happen in the future. You get it? All right. So example, to give you an example of what I just said, this won't be here. So all you would see is this. All right. So you should have saw that. All you would see is this. So what that means is right here, boom. I see, okay, it's stopping right here. You know what I mean? And it didn't breach that support. So I know more than likely it's going to go up. So I want to wait till it go up just a tad bit, then make my entry. All right. And do the, you know, my hands kind of erase some of this stuff, but you get the point, or you should. You know what I mean? This should have been your entry. All right. Should have been a buy right there. You understand? Boom. It went up. Boom. It breaches the support. All right. So it broke your support for the first time. It broke the support. You understand? It broke the support or the ceiling. All right. It broke it for the first time. So what it did, it continued to fall. Notice how once it broke that support, it broke this support, and this support. All right. It broke it. So once it breached that support, you notice how it didn't go back up. It continued to fall and created a new support. All right. And if you look, after it created a brand new support, it went back up and it fell back then. So it pulled back. This is called a pullback. All right. It pulled back and then it fell again. It continued to fall. All right. And something that we didn't discuss in previous videos is the wicks when it comes to understanding how to read candlestick chart price. All right. The wick, the high is going to be the longest point and the low is going to be the lowest point. So this is your wick. This is your high. All right. This is your low. Boom. If you see these lines poking outside of candlesticks, they're technically called a wick. So you want to use support based on the highest point and the lowest points. All right. Some people read support based off the close, or you know what I mean, the open, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's different strategies. All right. But for the sake of what I'm showing you guys, you want to use the highest points and lowest points, all right? If there's a wick, you want to use the highest point at the wick, all right? Prime example, you want to use right here. You're using this highest point. So this is your resistance at the highest point of that wick. You see the body, which is the candle, the red candle that's shaded in? You don't use that point. You use the highest point, which is the little line, which is the wick, all right? And we're going to use the same technique when it comes to understanding support, all right? So that's it, guys. I hope I explained it to you enough where you can understand, all right? Now, we're going to go through a few exercises in some of these videos, and I'm going to show you guys how I trade live, and I'm going to show you guys how to read support and resistance live, all right? But for the purpose of this video is to break it down fully, what it represents and what it means, all right? Support and resistance. These forms of technical analysis are very important, guys. So you need to be paying attention, at least, you know, when it comes to this particular part. You know what I'm saying? Very much so, all right? Because we're going to be discussing a lot. But for now, support and resistance. Ceilings and floors, all right? Floors are associated with support, and ceilings are associated with resistance, all right? I didn't want to make this video too long, but hopefully this was helpful for you guys in understanding the basics of how to read support and resistance, all right? Until next time, peace.